Good evening and welcome to Gender Corner on PBS. I'm Dustin Shafo.
And I'm Daddy Peyton.
Tonight's special features 4 different interviews about dating styles from generations past to generations present.
Thank you.
My name is Elva Boyce. I'm 98 years old. I was born in October 23rd, 1915.
Mama, who did you marry and how long were you married for?
I married Niall Watson Boyce in 1937 and was married for 68 years, very happily.
How long did you date before you got married?
You know, it was long ago that I'm having trouble remembering, but probably a year and a half to 2 years, someplace in there.
At what age did you guys start dating and then get married?
We started dating when I was 19 and got married when I was 21.
How did your husband ask you out?
Well, the first time I met him, he didn't ask me out. I was introduced to him by a very good friend of mine that I went to a dance with. And then he asked me to dance, and I was told he was a very good dancer. He could not dance at all. What a shock.
Mama, what was your first sign of affection towards each other?
I guess perhaps hugging.
How involved were your parents in your dating life?
Not at all, really. I think the first time they met him, we rode his motorcycle out to the farm, and that's when he first met them.
Were you guys already dating at that time?
Mm-hmm.
So back then your parents didn't care that you were on the back of a motorcycle with him, or did they care they just didn't have a say?
I don't think they worried about that at all. I was always on a horse, you know, coming down the road fast.
So a motorcycle wasn't much different?
No.
How long did you wait before you started a family after you were married?
We only waited 4 months.
Did you feel pressured by society in any way to have children, or was it your own decision?
I didn't feel the least bit pressured. I definitely wanted children. I didn't want 2 children so close together because I had 2 children in diapers, and it was kind of rough.
What shocked you the most between dating when you were dating and compared to today's society and dating?
Well, I think as far as morals are concerned, it's entirely different. A lot of young people live together. Some that I know quite closely lived for 5 years and had children and then got married. And I think that's not the way it should be.
Hi, I'm Karen Wright. I was born in 1940, and I had 48 years with a terrific, crazy guy.
How long did you guys date before you got married?
Probably about 3 years, but it wasn't continuous. We would have our spats, and he'd go his way and I'd go mine for a while, and then we'd get back together, and maybe that would happen again. So we decided we shouldn't have any more spats.
How did your husband ask you out?
Well, we were with another couple, and he didn't really ask me out. I just ended up in the front seat with him because my girlfriend was in love with my husband's best friend, and they were in the back seat. And we were driving around, and I think both of us decided I kind of like that other person.
What was your first sign of affection towards each other?
I believe that we held hands in a movie theater, which was right in our little hometown. And then, you know, that little slide the arm over behind the back of the chair thing.
Did you feel comfortable?
Oh, wow.
Or were you nervous?
Well, I was probably nervous, but I just thought I got the brass ring.
How involved were your parents in the dating situation?
Well, they were involved to the degree that they knew him before we started dating. My brother had dated his sister, so they knew my husband very, very well, and there was never any hint of disagreement as to our dating.
What shocks you the most about dating then compared to dating now?
The fact that people have got things turned around. They have children first, as my mother said, and then get married. And what shocks me, and backing up to that, and then when they do get married, they don't realize that the statistics prove that those who live together first, they have a greater problem with divorce. But what really bothers me is there is no shame anymore. It used to be when I was first married, if a girl got pregnant, then it was the honorable thing to get married immediately. And people felt bad for her. She felt bad. Not anymore. There's baby showers. And I just think we've lost something because we don't even feel badly anymore that our standards are not God's standards.
My name is Rhonda Payton, and I was born in 1965.
How long did you date before you were married?
We dated for about a year, and then we broke up for about 6 months, and I dated another young man. And then we did get back together and dated for like another year and a half before we were married.
And how old were you when you got married?
I was 20 and a half.
How did your husband ask you out?
We ran into each other at a football game, and he told me that he was going to give me a call, and I thought he was just being silly, and he was serious, and he did give me a call.
What was your first sign of affection towards each other?
We went out on a date, and we went to dinner, and then went to a couple of shops, and then on the way home we held hands.
How involved was your family in your dating life?
They were involved. I grew up in a small community, so everybody kind of knew each other, so my folks were familiar with this young man at the time and his folks, and so they were completely fine with me going out with him on a date.
And how long did you wait until you started a family?
We waited quite a few years before we had a family. I am the youngest in my family, and I had never babysat. I always worked at the Troy Mills Drive-In restaurant. And so when it came to newborns, I was pretty much scared to death of newborns and was not ready for a family. My husband was ready at about 5 years because he's 5 years older than me. But I wasn't ready until we'd been married about 8.5 years.
Did you feel pressured by society to have kids?
Very much so, because I heard a lot of comments about, why aren't you starting a family? Boy, you really need to be starting a family. What's the matter with you guys? Don't you want children? Or, like we were living a self-centered life. And so I did feel a pressure from society, but obviously it wasn't strong enough to make me start a family earlier until I felt comfortable.
How do you view dating back then compared to dating today?
I guess the major difference for me would be the whole friends with benefits philosophy, and it's unpopular, but I don't go along with that. I think there's not enough self-respect for young ladies or young men, and I think it just leads to problems down the road. And I think a committed relationship is a beautiful thing, and I think it's sad we don't have more of that.
My name is Danny, and I'm 19 years old, and I'm currently in a relationship.
What age do you prefer to get married?
I would probably prefer to get married in my later 20s, just so that I have a stable career and time to have my life underway at first.
And how long do you want to have kids?
Probably 2 or 3 years.
Do you have a family?
4.
How involved is your family in your dating life?
My family is very involved. My boyfriend came to ask my parents for permission to date me, and then sat down and talked to him about expectations of our relationship.
After listening to today's interviews, what is one thing that you would carry over to today from past generations to the generation of dating today?
One thing I would carry over is probably the respect for girls that past generations have had. I feel like in today's society, girls are idolized for their bodies and sexuality rather than their character and their personality. And I feel like physical attachment is put far more important than personality or emotional attachment in relationships, and that's one thing that I would like to change in today's generation.
What is one thing that you like about dating today?
There are actually two things. Personally, I like how my parents are so involved with our relationship, even though most kids my age today don't want their parents to be involved as much. I like it just because I respect my parents' opinion. And then another thing that I like about today's generation of dating is that girls do have a voice in boundaries or what they do or don't want in a relationship, and I like the fact that more so now than back then, girls can have a voice in whether or not they want to have children or when they want to have children, and it's not frowned upon or they're not judged for it.
So I'm slipping into the future.
Didn't you enjoy that broadcast this evening?
I know I did.
So I have a question for you.
Yes.
Why do the differences in dating styles matter?
Well, we believe that society has a direct influence on the difference in dating styles. For example, in the different generations, we believe that the female's voice is not heard to a certain extent.
And as you can see from our interviews, society is constantly changing.
The roles in which each gender plays is directly influenced by the way in which society changes.
The four women we interviewed gave us insight on how the society in which they lived influenced their particular generation in dating.
Society influences gender, and gender influences the difference in dating styles.
Thank you for watching our broadcast this evening. Tune in next week for Gender Corner on PBS. Next is Downton Abbey. Good night.
This program was made possible by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.